Let's get to some of the playoff X factors that you gotta watch. TK's got a list. He promised. He called his shot Babe Ruth style with this one. And I thought maybe we'll see it later in the week. He got to work yesterday.
That's right.
So what
Fresh
do you
in
got
my
for us?
mind.
All right.
These are your top 8 playoff X factors. Why 8? Why not? I got over 5. I was like, I ain't getting to 10. 4 from each conference, and honestly, I should have stopped at 7. But our number 1 X factor in the playoffs, and look, this is these are going to be bigger names than you would think for X factors, because when I think X factor, I think we're talking about a series, breaking down the matchups, who's like the random dude who's going to show up. These are more general playoff X factors, so some biggish names. For instance, Jamal Murray is my number 1 playoff X factor. I think he is the non-all-star that changes the title picture the most. Okay. In wins for the Nuggets this season, Jamal Murray is averaging 24 points per game, 61% true shooting. All of these stats are before the games last night, so things could have changed a little bit. In their losses, 19 points per game, 55 true shooting. This one is accurate. When Murray scores 20 or more points, the Nuggets are 24-11. When he's under 20 points, 14-15.
Yeah.
Simple as that. He has to play like a second star for their team to be good. And you think back like the Nuggets playoff history recently. 21-22 season, Jamal Murray is gone. Nuggets are not a championship contender. 23, he's healthy, plays incredibly in the playoffs. They win the championship pretty easily once they got down into the finals. Last year, banged up. They lost it in Game 7. Maybe got exhausted as the series went on after a long season. So the fact that he's playing well right now, I think, is encouraging for the Denver Nuggets, and to me, he is like the biggest question mark. If he plays like Jamal Murray, playoff riser we've seen before, they're still alive, I think, as a championship contender.
Yeah, that's a great point, because it really comes down to him when it comes to the Denver Nuggets, because we know Nikola Jokic is going to be awesome. And you can look back at that 2023 team and think, well, maybe it was KCP who really was the X factor, but Jamal Murray was the guy leading the NBA in the playoffs at 59 threes in 20 games. So he hit three threes per game. It's a big freaking number. And he just was the guy in that whole entire playoffs. And I wondered after the max contract coming into this season, whether or not it was just a little premature giving him that deal after watching what he did in last year's playoffs. Just wasn't up to it. And then the Olympics did not play well whatsoever. Yeah. But yeah, I gotta apologize to the front office there. I called it out, maybe because we're in this era where it just seems like we forget about things. You know, last year everything is just so quick, and then you just look at Jamal Murray. He's always a second half guy, and he started the season slow, and then bang! I mean, he has been really, really good. So yeah, they are the challenger to OKC if he's playing like that.
Yeah, and when he's rolling, the Jokic Murray 1-2 game is like one of the most unstoppable 1-2s in the league.
That's right.
We have seen it like in playoff series. So yeah, he is so important. But when he has that fall off or he goes ice cold, they're a different team and they drop a tier. I think you're right. Despite this guy never being an all-star, incredibly. But yeah, you're going to go through a lot of names here. When he's at his best, his ceiling is probably, it's almost peak of all these guys that you're going to go through. It's wild.
And I think what is different than the run in 2023 is Jamal Murray learns sometimes he doesn't even need Nikola Jokic to be handling the ball or the pick and roll with him. He's shown other things with other guys on the team where he's just leading the team. So TBD, we'll see how he does.
Also the hairiest guy on this list.
Yes, I'm glad you mentioned it. It was the last part of my notes. Once you mentioned it, I'm like, I can't stop looking at how hairy his limbs are.
He's
out
extremely
from his chest.
Yeah. Extremely hairy. He's got some Egyptian in him. So I think that's where it's coming from. Yeah.
Jamal Murray, one of the hairiest guys in the league. Maybe that'll be the next list. Top 33 hairiest guys in the league.
Wow.
Andre Drummond probably making the list still. Our next biggest playoff X factor in the Eastern Conference, it's Mikal Bridges of the New York Knicks. Originally, I was thinking it was Karl Anthony Towns, but he'll at least produce. I think in the playoffs, there will be the frustrating moments with Karl Anthony Towns where he's picking up 2 fouls 30 feet from the hoop in the first quarter. That's going to be a bummer. Brunson, certified playoff riser. The guy got better with the Mavericks. He got better when he was playing with the Knicks as well. So as long as he's healthy, I'm good on those guys. Bridges, though, has been playing awesome without Jalen Brunson. 22 points per game, 67% true shooting on a higher usage rate. When he scores 20 or more points, the Knicks are 18-7. You even look at their last 5 games. In the games he had 27 and 28 points they won, their 3 losses under 20. He's also a huge factor for them from point of attack defense. Like if they were to run into the Cavs in the conference finals, if they meet up with the Celtics in the second round, I think he's going to play a really big role guarding guys. I think OG Anunoby is kind of in this X Factor vote as well, but I expect more offensively from Mikal Bridges. We just haven't quite seen it from OG to be the guy you give the ball, he can go out and get you a bucket. Bridges has done that, and I think that the Knicks are going to need that from him in the playoffs if they want to make any sort of serious noise.
I love this one. I was going to ask you, did you go back and forth between, not Cap, but like OG or Mikal Bridges, but I like going with Mikal here, and I just looked it up too. It feels like there's a line for him. If he hits 4 or more threes in a game for the Knicks, it's like they're basically winning that game, and it sort of holds true. He's got 14 games where he's hit 4 or more threes, and it's like an 11-3 record. Like they almost always win, and he's going to get looks, and you like when he's shooting it with confidence. So that's a good one. Bridges, I mean, I don't know how you feel about the Knicks. I know we had them on the second tier when it came to their chances to win a title. Maybe that's fallen off a bit. Part of that with the Brunson injury. Maybe not. Do you still believe in him?
As far as the Brunson injury goes, I think he can just chill as much as possible because I do think this is a bit of a blessing in disguise. I think Brunson can relax, but also in the standings. I think if Milwaukee drops to 4th, if the Knicks drop to 4th, they get Milwaukee, which I think that is a great matchup for them. They have destroyed the Bucks this year.
You think the Knicks would rather play the Bucks than the Pistons?
Yeah, I think they would. I think they are so good at making Milwaukee look slow as molasses. And their 2 games that they've played them this year, they beat them by 34 the last time they played them, and 22. They haven't been close whatsoever. They play Brook Lopez off the floor. I think they do make them look extremely slow. So I think that also helps Mikal Bridges just play more in that number 1 role that we all saw in Brooklyn, where it really worked. I shouldn't say number 1 role. It's not a number 1 role, but the more prominent role where he is more of a 1 or 2 guy. I think it does help him. And Brunson will be back doing his thing. He'll be good.
2.5 game lead for the Knicks over the Pacers right now, but the Pacers are playing better than the Knicks, so definitely a possibility.
Yeah.
We're switching back to the Western Conference. Our next playoff X Factor, Jaden McDaniels of the Minnesota Timberwolves. I thought of Randall as a candidate as well, but you got to prove it to me. I think, though, that Jaden McDaniels has been a huge part of the Timberwolves' resurgence. Before the All-Star break, 12 points per game, 2 assists on 56 true shooting. After the All-Star break, 17 points per game, 3 assists, 62% true shooting, and most importantly, his shot attempts went from 9.6 field goals per game to 12.8. The guy's looking way more aggressive, way more confident, actually looking for his shot. Making 3-pointers is huge. In that same time frame, the Timberwolves offense has gone from 14th on the year to 4th, just because Jaden McDaniels is playing a little bit better and not being a 5th option out there. Like, he's looking to score, and I think that's huge for the Timberwolves to have somebody that wants to take the shots. Confidence is a big thing for McDaniels. I think he's also going to have a better defensive series than he had against Luka Doncic last year, depending on who the Timberwolves match up with. They're going to have a tough road of things coming from likely the play-in tournament, unless they're able to pass the Warriors, but we'll see. But Jaden McDaniels has played pretty well here in the second half of the season.
He looks like a different player. You can see it start a first quarter, start a third quarter. That's when he gets called on, and it's like, you're playing my man. And Edwards has been looking for him. When you start talking about the Timberwolves, they have so many X factors. It feels like you mentioned Randall, and it goes down the line. I mean, if Rudy Gobert ain't that same guy, I mean, Dante DiVincenzo comes off the bench and has helped out, but they don't look right all the time. But Jaden McDaniels is important, and he's played in every game this season. Not a lot of guys do that, but he does. He is out there playing hard, and he will get the other team's best player. He's asked. There's a lot asked of him, and since that All-Star game, he's been providing everything he's been asked of.
He might be playing Kawhi Leonard in a 7-8 matchup.
Yeah.
Try and slow down the Terminator there. So good luck with that. But you're right. The offensive part is the huge part, because he just has games where he's disappearing act too, where he still has, like, you look at a box where he's like, this guy's got 5 points. And he's played like nearly 30 minutes.
Did he actually fall asleep?
Yeah,
it looks like he was going to.
But he's played way better, like you said, since the break. So that's a good one. I like that one a lot. Again, the Wolves are going to have a hell of a run to get back to the Western Conference Finals, or obviously even hopes to get to the finals. Like, you got to get in first, let alone then beat some of these elite teams. So going to be very difficult, but he'd have to play at a super high level for them to have any chance, in addition to in addition to Randall and Gobert and stuff.
Another team with a lot of potential X factors, the Cleveland Cavaliers. Definitely got my eyes on Darius Garland. Hasn't had a great run in the playoffs yet. I think there's a lot of pressure on DeAndre Hunter. If they're going to take down the Celtics, like he's going to be a major part of them trying to pull that off as a defender, likely on Tatum, and then having to play offensively. But I'm ultimately going with Jared Allen as my X factor for the Cleveland Cavaliers because I haven't been impressed his last two outings for the Cavs. You had the Lights Are Too Bright series versus the Knicks, an ultimate quote graphic that you don't necessarily want associated with your name. And then last year, he got hurt after Game 4 against Orlando. In their 2 wins that series that Jared Allen played with, and he had 16 points and 18 rebounds in Game 1, 16 points and 20 rebounds. That's a lot of roast beef in Game 2. He was awesome in their 2 wins. He was not awesome in their 2 losses. They got blown out in Game 3 and maybe in Game 4 as well. But when he plays well, when he's able to stay on the court, the Cavs defense is going to be even better. And I think he's a good player, but there are matchups which aren't perfect to be playing Allen and Mobley. So I think that it's important for the Cavs that Allen makes it so the other team is having to adjust to them rather than the flip-flop.
Yeah. And you can play Allen at the 5 if things are going well and Mobley sits, or vice versa, because Mobley is playing so well. Yeah, there's lots of question marks. As you mentioned, Garland, Mobley too, to have an even better playoffs. But Jared Allen is definitely focused on this postseason to write it, as you said. That quote that he never wants, although he claims that he liked that quote. And when he said it,
he's not ashamed.
No, he's not ashamed. He calls out for it. And this is his time to have his best playoffs, because we haven't had a great one. And last year he was injured for a bunch of that 2-round playoff run for them.
And you are right. The Magic punked them in Game 3, 121-83, and then 112-89.
Weird
in Game
series,
4.
man.
Very weird series, where Cleveland ultimately got it done in 7, but it was even sort of close there for a second in Game 7. I remember they sort of pulled away in the end, 106-94. But yeah, it was an odd one.
Yeah,
and it didn't instill a lot of confidence. I remember in the Cavs, the Magic were scrappy.
Yeah,
I think I took the Magic to win that series. I thought the defense might get it done, but Cleveland got through. But Jared Allen, okay, lots of guys to pick from though. I love the Garland one too. I think for him, Garland to me is when you're getting into the later rounds.
For sure.
He has to be big and be clutch, and he can be.
Well, he's been great this season.
Yeah.
His clutch stats are nearly 60%. But he's not going to win Clutch Player of the Year, I guess, because that's Jalen Brunson's. But maybe the injury hurts. I don't know. Okay.
We shall see. We are in starry range. Grab the green ball, Skeets.
Okay.
Ja Morant is my biggest playoff X factor for the Memphis Grizzlies. He has not played like a star this season. 22 points, 7 assists, very good, but those are not all-star stats. Those are Ja Morant stats from before he won Most Improved Player. Still one of the weirdest awards we've seen. How many 30-point games do you think Ja Morant has this season? 30-point games.
Wow, 4?
Yeah.
That's probably high. 3 or 4, I guess.
Yeah, I would have said 4 as well.
5 it is.
Okay.
He had that 144-point game, and then he had, I think, maybe back-to-back 30s when Jaren Jackson Jr. went out, and it kind of was the only time we've seen Ja be the guy for the Grizzlies this season. They definitely have a more equal opportunity, ball movement-based offense. Jaren Jackson Jr.'s game has grown a lot in the 2 years that Ja Morant was injured or suspended. Same with Desmond Bane. Those guys take up a bigger portion of the possessions for Memphis than when Ja was the undisputed number 1 guy. But I think for the Grizzlies to reach their ceiling, he's got to be able to be a 30-point, 10-assist guy pretty regularly in the playoffs. He's had some massive moments. He's had 45-plus, I think, in every playoff run he's had when he's been healthy. Wow. So we know Ja Morant can show up, but Memphis is 12-21 this season versus teams that are over 500. They're beating up on the bad teams, and then they're scraping by sometimes against the good teams. They're going to be all good teams in the playoffs, and that's why they need Ja Morant to play like the Ja Morant that everybody fell in love with, because that's not the guy we've seen this season.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if Taylor Jenkins is saving more minutes for Ja Morant in the postseason. I guess it's possible, because he's only playing 30 minutes a game, which would be his career low. Just to go out and see him do what he has done in the playoffs, as you said, Trey, there have been some magical moments, and he was awesome when they beat Minnesota 2 years ago and they played Golden State. I guess it's 3 seasons ago now. It was 2022. But he plays a ton when those moments are great. The 3 playoffs that he's played in, 40 minutes played per game, 37 and 37 in the other one. So, yeah, I wonder if it's just a tick up, and we'll see the jaw moments again. It's great. It's a very high X factor here you have here.
Yeah.
He shouldn't be an X factor. He should be a star.
That's the issue. And
That's the problem.
I find the Grizzlies very difficult to figure out. And, like, I wouldn't be shocked, obviously, with them losing in a first-round series, maybe even handedly, and I wouldn't be shocked with them, like, upsetting or going far because they're sort of like Jekyll and Hyde a little bit. They have, like, one of the best net ratings in the league, but I think you're right. A big part of that is, like, they take care of those crap teams, and that sort of inflates that a little bit. And then maybe a little more subpar against the elite competition in the league. But they are good, is my point. They are really, really good. But Ja needs to be special. And that needs to 30 minutes. Yeah, that's got to be like at least 38 minutes in a postseason, in a playoff game. And it probably will be. And hopefully we get some magical moments from Ja Morant. Because he's been like a forgotten player this season.
Big time. It definitely feels like they are managing his body. Like he'll play 3 games and sit out 2 games. Like you're saying, the minutes are a lot lower. They're asking less of him. Hopefully, it's so that he can be ramped up and ready to go for the playoffs. But that's kind of flipping things on its head from the entire way you've played all season. So I don't know. I was in on the Grizzlies halfway through the season, and then the last month and a half, they've been pretty disappointing.
Yeah, 15 and 20 against teams 500 or better.
Yeah,
that ain't good.
No.
I apologize if you said that stat. Did you say that stat?
I said it different. I thought I said 12 and 21 versus teams over 500.
Did you read that on a postcard by chance?
You're getting me for my reading of Chiefs postcard yesterday.
Jamal Mashburn stat we're still trying to figure out.
No, we all figured it out. That was the Pelicans, the New Orleans Pelicans. Yeah, according to NBA.com, it's 15 and 20. Against 500 plus.
And if we can't trust NBA.com, who can we trust?
Well, you can't trust ESPN because right now it says they're 11 and 19 against teams over
what the
5.
hell? You going with Shu or you going with Pelton?
So this says...
My shoes on. I'm going with Shu.
I'm geeking it out here because this column on NBA.com says OPP dots opponent 500 plus. So does that mean it's over 500?
Yes.
Okay, but so yours says could mean 500 and over.
Ooh.
So that's
this says 500 and above.
Yeah, so maybe there's more games there.
Yeah.
What was it? You had 11 and...
I got 11 and 19.
But this says more games. This says 30.
That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that 35.
Unless they're playing exactly 500 teams. I don't know
it
what
must
it
be
is.
Like,
but I know that
when they were 500?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay. I'll ask Chief. He knows.
Not Jeeves.
Not Chiefs.
We have Chief. Lesser known website that we only correspond with through postcards. We'll get back to it in 8 weeks.
Where's Schumann? Schumann is the guy who writes for NBA.com.
Yeah, we'll have to...
Schumann does all the stats.
Anyways, they're not good against good teams.
That's right. They're not good against good teams, no matter how you slice
Dylan
it.
does say it could be 500 when they played them versus currently 500. Is that that could be a difference? That'd be weird.
Yeah, the fact that it
weird.
changed so much from when I looked at it yesterday to today, and they didn't play, gives me reason to think that something changed.
So it is about...
like I said, they're 11 and 19 on on Tuesday, but when I looked at it on Monday, they were 12 and 21, so they lost 3 games somehow.
Right.
Like
so
3 games just disappeared from that record.
So
Who went over 500 yesterday?
Exactly.
People are calling this a stat fight.
It's a straight up stat fight. There's no teams that are on the verge of being over 500. I don't know who did it.
Wow, you're going deep.
Okay, the Kings lost to go under 500. They were 35 and 35 heading into the season. I wonder what the record for the Grizzlies is against the Kings. There we go. We found it, Schumann. Our next biggest playoff X factor. He's tall. It's Kristaps Porzingis of the Boston Celtics. He played 7 total playoff games last year, and the Celtics went 6-1. When he played, they were unbeatable. When he didn't play, they were also basically unbeatable. But I think they need him this year.
Yeah.
Their biggest competition when you're looking league-wide at the teams they're hopefully going up against in the conference finals or the finals are the Thunder, who have Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein and switch on defense a ton. You need Porzingis there. Or the Cavaliers in the Eastern Conference Finals, Evan Mobley, Jared Allen. Got to be able to have a big guy in that series outside of Al Horford. If the Nuggets somehow make it to the finals, it'll be Nikola Jokic. Yep. They're going to need Kristaps Porzingis last year. They didn't need him last year.
Yep. We're on record as saying as much here on the show. We've said it for a couple weeks now. I believe if they're going to repeat, Porzingis is going to be a monster.
I agree.
And I think he could flirt with a Eastern Conference Finals MVP or potentially even a Finals MVP. I know as great as Tatum is, as great as Jaylen Brown is, I think he's that important, and I think the numbers can be that big in a potential 4 wins out of 7. So I'm on board with this. KP's got to be awesome for them to repeat because it's going to be more difficult.
Yes, definitely as the series go on, you may face an OKC for sure, but I do think it is tougher even at the beginning, and we'll see if Kristaps is just healthy. I think that's what it comes down to. He has, and they have somehow mastered the getting him back healthy, because when he comes back, he looks freaking awesome. They play it slow, I guess, and he has looked good recently.
Yeah. He's played 4 out of the last 5, and he scored 24 or more in 3 of those, and like they sort of waxed the Kings there last night. So, he didn't have to play. Well, he played 30 minutes, I guess, but didn't have his monster of game. But
right. He looks good.
They've won all these games is the other point. And a lot of these games are missing other guys, star guys. He's like taken on that role easily. He can slot into that, and he can give you 25, and he can give you some rebounds as well. I know that's a strong suit, but the guy's a monster, and he obviously can protect the rim. He's so important, and could be a matchup nightmare for some potential series.
Oh yeah.
So I'm with you on that one.
Yeah.
That's an X factor to win the title.
Yes.
To me, yeah.
And Al Horford is getting older. He obviously has a great season. He's had an incredible season. But, I mean, you need somebody else.
But
you got to get 2s sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to have to get 2s in the playoffs. That's why they can't just have Horford.
Yeah.
He's not the guy that's beating switches like Porzingis is. When the Celtics had their biggest struggles, it was like trying to reintegrate Porzingis as a player and not necessarily being used to the way that he was getting his shots, or Porzingis was out of the lineup and they were a little bit too 3 happy. So him coming back solves all those problems.
Yeah. And he's still a good 3-point shooter. Is the crazy part. He's like a 39% 3-point shooter this year. So yeah.
And just to confirm, the Grizzlies are 1-2 against the Sacramento Kings. So the NBA, the ESPN standings are telling us record against teams that are 500 currently, and my guess is that the NBA.com ones are saying at the time of the game were they 500.
Damn. Which one do you prefer?
I think I prefer not checking it until the end of the season when it's locked in, because I think based on the full season is smarter actually than at the time.
I think you're right.
Yeah. Biggest playoff X factor, number 7, Jaylen Williams of the Oklahoma City Thunder, Jalen. I am talking about wing Jaylen Williams, who is currently hurt. J-Dub, even though Jaylin, J-Will, is straight up hooping right now, so maybe he's an X factor as well. But you look at Jaylen Williams last season, great against the Pelicans in the playoffs, 21 per game on 53% shooting, 39 from 3. Just middling against the Mavs, 17 per game, 42 from the field, 38 from 3. We know what the recipe is going to be against the Thunder. Get the ball out of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's hands, so definitely pressure on Thunder shooters like Lou Dort, Isaiah Joe. Those would be the main guys, I would say. I think pressure on Chet Holmgren as well, but Jaylen Williams, you're an all-star. This is your time to step up as the second scorer. There are going to be moments when you got to lead the second unit, when Shai is getting a tiny bit of rest during the playoffs. So I would like to see him step up. He's been really consistent this season. Do it again in the playoffs.
Yep. You're going to want Jaylen Williams to be Jaylen Brown. To obviously, SGA's Tatum, in that sort of comparison, and that's what you're looking for. And if he is, then they're unbeatable because they are damn good. But the pressure's going to be there. He's going to be, once the ball's forced out of SGA's hands, especially when we're getting into like fourth quarters and clutch situations. Right. It's like you got to make the play. And now you have Hartenstein to make a play at the free throw line and play 4-on-3, but you also have him as the guy that's going to operate. And whether he can do it for 4 series, we know he can do it. Mm-hmm. He has done it. But it's a different beast in the postseason. But I have high hopes for him. I love this guy.
Yeah, looking forward to watching him in bigger moments. Yeah, OKC can rely on other guys if he isn't being incredible.
Well,
but there will be times when Shai is not having an excellent game. Who's going to do it? And it's going to be called upon for Jaylen to do it.
And he, it's sort of not as much this year. Maybe it's because they're blowing a lot of teams out. But, was it last year? He had a lot of, great moments in the clutch.
Yeah.
He would take over games. Sort of SGA would do the heavy carrying for a majority of the game, and then he would take over as sort of an extra boost. So he'll probably get that opportunity in the playoffs. Love that one.
Final playoff X factor, the biggest reach-a-roo. Benedict Mathurin of the Indiana Pacers.
Yeah, this one caught me by surprise.
Yeah, but I wanted 8, and I wanted it to be 4-4.
I hear you.
And honestly, I love what Mathurin has brought to the Pacers lately. Obviously, they didn't play a clutch game last night, but they had 4 clutch wins prior to that. And in those 4 games, Ben Mathurin, 6th in fourth quarter scoring, 9.5 per game, 68 from the field. He went to the free throw line 4 times per fourth quarter in those 4 wins. In those 4 wins, 31 clutch points on 69% shooting. That's great.
Yeah.
He hasn't played in the playoffs yet either.
Yeah.
So maybe he raises the ceiling a little bit for the Indiana Pacers, or maybe he's kind of got the game where you're not getting the free throw calls in the playoffs and you just become a guy who drives into traffic, which is not helping the Pacers. But I'd like to see what he's got. And I was choosing him over, like, Kyle Kuzma.
Oh, yeah, I was wondering who else was on your list.
Kuzma, Malik Beasley, like, those guys are series X factors for sure when we get down into it. But I think if Mathurin can play well, it gives the Pacers a little bit of extra juice.
Yeah, and his scoring in the fourth quarter, as you said, those clutch stats, happens a lot more than it does for Kyle Kuzma or somebody else. These points matter. Who do they go to in the fourth quarter? It's always this guy. Recently, it's just over and over and over again. So as I go back to NBA.com for stats, because I love my stats.
Be careful there.
Yeah,
I heard they're all wrong.
I'm just looking for I haven't found it yet. His points by quarter have to increase as the game goes on. It's always funny.
I don't know if they have a straight up split for that, but you can sort.
Yeah, you got to go.
You got to sort it. Yeah, you might have to sort it up.
I'm not upset with another Canadian being on this list at all. Ben the Baker, let's go. I'm starting to get really excited about the Pacers again here with the way they're playing recently, because it's like just nice to see them playing like they were last year. And we already talked about, like, I wouldn't be upset with a 4-5 run it back between the Pacers and Bucks, fully loaded squads. And, Pacers fans they'll have a chip on their shoulder because everyone's like, you only got by them because there was no Giannis. Well, they're going to be like, all right, bring Giannis. Let's see it. So that'll be a great first-round series, I think, 4-5. But he'll be important. So there it is. Hit me with those 8 guys again. Who you got?
Who do I got? Scrolling. Get those
you haven't memorized
scrolling.
them? Come on,
all right, Jamal Murray of the Denver Nuggets, Mikal Bridges of the New York Knicks, Jaden McDaniels of the Minnesota Timberwolves, Jared Allen of the Cleveland Cavaliers, Ja Morant of the Memphis Grizzlies, Kristaps Porzingis of the Boston Celtics, Jaylen Williams of the Oklahoma City Thunder, and Benedict Mathurin of the Indiana Pacers.
5 guys whose names start with a J. The J Factor.
The J Factor. That's what it's called now.